to another edition of the Bullheaded Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Tyson, and as usual, I'm here with Zua Peebush. What's up, fellas?
What's up, Sean? Got to finally watch some new play calling in the Chicago Bears offense. So it was the Lions, but hey, man, it was progress is progress at the end of the day. So it was a pretty solid weekend overall of football for me.
Depressing.
Fantasy?
Depressing. I've never been so sad in my entire life. I was down by like 30 points. My man Deebo Samuels dropped 31 fantasy points, and I was back in the game with one game left at Sunday night football. Chris Godwin versus a freaking kicker. And the kicker is the game-winning shot on me! On me! Not only did he beat the Patriots, he beat me by 3 points on a kicker shot.
In the rain.
49-yard field goal. I dropped 127 fantasy points. My team showed up. No CMC, my best player. No best player. My team showed up. And a kicker sinks my ass. But Tyreek Hill dropping 41 again.
I had Tyreek, baby.
Something about Tyreek Hill, man. Every time he sees my ass, gotta let my ass on fire, man. That dude is ridiculous, man. That dude, when he goes nuclear, it fucking hurts. It hurts, man. And he had one touchdown, like, take it away, man. He could have got 4 tutties that game. That dude's ridiculous. So, 1-3 fantasy football league, man. Trying to make some moves to recover from this.
I kind of can understand. I can kind of understand with the whole Kansas City offense because I was on a beneficiary this week because I had Tyreek, but then I think when Travis Kelce played against the Ravens, that was the deciding factor in why I lost that week. But Travis Kelce this past week, he only had like 6 or 7 points because they didn't use him at all. So it's kind of weird with Kansas City how they go back and forth. The only constant,
Depends on coverages. If they focus on one dude, the other dude goes off. So pretty much, Tyreek goes off 1 week, Travis Kelce. Depends on the matchup. So, my Lord, of course, Tyreek Hill got to drop a 40-piece.
Yeah, he went off, but it could have been more.
It could have.
Yeah, I will say in that game that it was interesting for 3 quarters until they kind of started pulling away at the end. But I do think Kansas City, their defense is still to be determined. But we're going to talk about week 4 in the NFL. You know, Arizona Cardinals coming out, they've been putting the league on notice a little bit, but I think they kind of stamped that with how they kind of handled the Rams. I thought everybody thought after that game with the Bucs that the Rams had that, that was going to be more of a closer game, but it's kind of showing proof that Kyler is looking like an MVP candidate and their offense is looking really unstoppable. So I wanted to ask the guys, what are their takeaways from week 4 with the Cardinals being as dominant as they were? And people, Sean, we'll start with you, man.
This was a hell of a statement game for the Cardinals because, there were 2 undefeated teams, really going in. We saw the Raiders lose last night. Tough one against the Chargers. And going into the Cardinals-Rams game, I thought this was easily going to be the best game of the week. There ended up being, some closer games, a couple overtime games. But this was a statement win by Arizona. I think it's their first 4-0 start in a long time. Kyler Murray for MVP. I got one buddy who had accidentally placed a prop bet on Murray to win MVP before week 1, and they won't let him cash it out. And he's like, I'm riding it. So, to your point, Sean, he's arguably the MVP favorite right now. I know Russell's always in the mix, early on in the season when he's cooking. But, record-wise, you can't argue against 4-0, only undefeated team. I was most impressed by their defensive performance, honestly. Stafford has been red hot lately, him and Kupp. They held Kupp to under 70 yards receiving on, I believe, 5 catches. Chase Edmonds had a really nice game, 10 yards a carry, 120 yards.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's out of nowhere against one of the best rush defense in the league. Aaron Donald looked very frustrated throughout that entire game. And it really started with the Rams making, that one mistake with Stafford's pick. And it just kind of went and spiraled down from there because it was going to be a possession-to-possession game, and whoever made the first mistake was going to lose that game. And the Cardinals did not let go. So I took most out of their defensive performance because we know how deadly they can be on offense. A.J. Green scoring a touchdown there. They just have so many weapons, similar to the Chiefs, to your point, Zoo. If one guy's not really doing much, they can go to somebody else and they'll step up. So I'm very impressed with this Cardinals start. I think it is still the strongest division of the league. So it's going to be a hell of a finish there. And we got a long way to go there. So
yeah, but I think the biggest takeaway is Matthew Stafford had an off game.
He did.
He had an off game. Like this dude for his first couple of games looking like an MVP candidate and started missing throws. Like Cooper Kupp had some, like if he had some throws to Cooper Kupp, man, he could easily have over 100 yards.
Oh, yeah.
100 receiving yards. But he missed some throws to Cooper Kupp, who's been probably the best fantasy football player and wide receiver right now. That dude's an unbelievable efficiency. And like his 64 yards, that's because of Matthew Stafford, not because of Cooper Kupp. Like Cooper Kupp got open. Cooper Kupp got that speed and strength that he's been showing the entire year that he's a wide receiver one, overtaking Robert Woods, man. Dubby, man. Like this Jefferson kid, man, taking over number 2 now, man.
Yeah.
Robert Woods is number 3 receiver. So
yeah, he's barely a flex player. Barely.
Barely. If he gets 8 points, that's a good day. So like he ain't relevant no more. So like, I think the biggest thing was just Stafford had an off game. And Kyler Murray, that offense, like his ability to run is just so beautiful to watch, man. Like he legit is like a Madden video game, and every time he starts running, man, and their run game is actually low key pretty good. They have like a 2-headed beast right now. James Conner and Chase Edmonds. James Conner, the goal line dude, the big meatball that just rolls over at the goal line, man, and got Chase Edmonds in the passing attack. Like that's a nice mixture. Like, and they get a lot of run plays. Like they got over 30 rushes combined between Chase Edmonds and James Conner. So they're relying on the run, and obviously Kyler Murray could throw the heck out of the football. So they have a really good balanced attack of running the football and throwing it, so they can beat you both ways.
Yeah, I mean, they forced Stafford to throw 40 times, and I know they don't like to run the ball. They obviously, McVay loves to get that ball downfield, but yeah, Stafford had an off game. I don't think you can expect him to have 17 perfect games throughout the year, right? It's just extremely rare for any quarterback to have that. And it was bound for him to happen. I'm surprised they honestly got off to such a hot start just with him coming in this summer. But hey, man, it clicked early on. It just was not their game. But that's a huge loss for the Rams. I know they get another shot at the Cardinals, in their second game of the season against them. But this was a big statement division win, especially when, the Niners went down. They got Jimmy G injured, possibly having Trey Lance stepping in. The Seahawks are still a bit iffy. They're inconsistent from, game to game. So it's going to probably come down to these two teams at the end of the season. And we saw what the Cardinals can do. Let's hope the Rams can adjust. So, it's a closer finish towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I do think an X factor, and it's only because I have him on my fantasy bench, is Trey Lance. Now I know it's in-game season, and it's like, you throw the guy in there, you don't have time to prepare. I mean, I know it's the NFL, so they do prepare for everyone, but you don't prepare for the starter like you do for the backup. So I think a lot of that was operating, but I did like his, rapport with Debo, how he threw those touchdown passes and things like that. So it's going to be interesting to see if Trey can come out. I don't know who they're playing next week, but if they can come out and he can kind of maybe take the job away. Because if Jimmy's down, they were saying at least 2 weeks with his calf strain. If he's down for 2 weeks and Trey impresses, I don't think he's going to get the job back. And maybe that can ignite the 49ers. Now, I do think the 49ers are probably the most injured team in the league. They always have a string of injuries, so I don't know if the whole team is going to even hold up to where they can maybe compete in the division. But that's an X factor. But I do agree it's going to come down to the Rams and the Cardinals, with those two being probably the more, headliners in those divisions. I probably wanted to say that, with the NFC, another team in the NFC that I'm still not all the way there, but I'm buying a little bit more stock as they go, is the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I wasn't big on the Panthers. I didn't think they were like the huge 3-0 team that everybody was making them out to be, because I just read the stat the other day, like Sam Darnold leads the league in rushing touchdowns, which is amazing. Like, that's crazy.
Oh, I know that. You know why, man? Because he took some touchdowns away from my man McCaffrey, man. They a little fake off to McCaffrey. And Sam Darnold got a bunch of easy ones, man. It works real effective when you got McCaffrey. Yeah,
I think he's kind of becoming this quarterback that his passing game, like, I will give him credit. Like, he's grown in that aspect because he has better weapons. But his rushing,
exactly.
He has better weapons.
Man.
He's a true number one.
He's
a true number one. True number one. Yeah, I feel bad for the people who had Anderson thinking because of his connection with the Jets. Like, nah. DJ Moore was like, nah, I'm taking that mantle. I'm going to be a number one guy now. So I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't the biggest believer because the Panthers didn't really play anything. I think their defense is solid. Yeah. So it's pretty interesting to see how Dallas played on them. I do love the formula of when they're doing Pollard and Elliott, just grinding them out, and then having Dak. I think Dak only threw like 18 passes. I love that formula the most. I don't like when Dak's throwing 30, 35 times because I just feel like that's not how their offense is set up. Like, their offense was set up for Zeke. He was a number 4 overall pick. him to run the ball. Pollard was a revelation, and then their defense. Like I said, their defense is kind of stepping to know.
It's good.
We had a segment, We had a segment about Trayvon Diggs.
Trayvon Diggs, 2 picks, man. It was very fitting.
Show up.
Very
he
fitting.
might be top 2-3 now. Like it's not even like I said, the ball production is just there. Like he's looking like an all-pro guy. So I don't know where you guys stand with Dallas. It's just to me, I've seen this story before. So it's just hard for me to fully like wrap myself around the Cowboys, but they're looking like a team. Like I don't know. Like I said, I don't bet, but an NFC Championship game with Arizona and Dallas, that's not crazy. I could see that. I could totally see it because I think Dallas is going to be the number 1 team in that division. In Arizona, how they started, Kyler's just on that. Their division is tougher, but man, who else in the NFC do you like?
I mean, you could
Green
argue
Bay.
It's
I don't know. Green Bay's script, dude.
You could argue Green Bay. They'll always end up being there, force you. You know, hey man, Rodgers has broken Cowboys' hearts multiple times.
He's beaten them twice in the playoffs, man. If they're playing the playoffs, I'm putting my money on Aaron Rodgers.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't count out Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. I know that the Bucs Patriots game was
defense,
tough, and their defense is good, man. Ryan Suckup, absolute MVP of that game. 13 of their 19 points scored kicking. I apologize to Zoo for even bringing that up again. But you know, there's some other teams I think that could get involved. The Bucs being the main one, Packers being another. But yeah, no, Sean, I agree. Out of the NFC East, it's going to be the Cowboys. I don't think Washington can really stick around with them.
They're absolute garbage.
But
I thought they were going to be.
I know,
dude. They are legitimately garbage. They're bottom 5 right now.
Yeah,
Chase
Young hasn't had a sack, but Taylor Heineke, man, is carrying that
offensively.
team.
They're actually not bad. So
they're
just
pretty
like their
damn
defense sucks.
Yeah. So I don't, and the Eagles, I think we said this multiple times, but they're still a growing franchise. Danny Dime Jones, man, he's been actually balling out this year. He threw his first pick of the year on a Hail Mary at the end of the first half.
Yeah,
had a nice game.
I don't even count that, man. I don't even count that.
So, he threw for 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, a bogus pick there. Saquon, 2 touchdowns, 120 total yards, on the ground and through the air. I know that they're 1-3, but they've been in pretty much every single game. I think they struggled against Denver. I'm not saying they'll push the Cowboys at all, but that division will always be interesting at the end. I just think the Cowboys aren't relying too much on Dak, and I think that's the difference.
That's what they need to do,
and that's what they're not forcing him to throw 40 to 45 times a game like the Rams are. Rams should take something out of the Cowboys. They both have. Coming to fruition. The Cowboys
let's not compare Darrell Henderson to Zeke Elliott.
No. I'm saying they need to take. No, I'm not saying compare the two running backs, but just run the ball more. Like, why not? Darrell Henderson had 14 for 89. On Sunday, that's not bad.
There's levels to this, man. My boy Zeke, man.
They need to use Sony Michel more. I do agree with that.
They need to use Michel more. They have things in their backfield that they can use, but they just were relying too much on Stafford because of how well it was working. So I think they'll go back to the drawing board. But the Cowboys entered the season kind of doing this. They didn't really force Dak to do too much. I think he only threw he might have thrown 25 times this past game, but they gave Zeke like 20 carries. I think that's winning for them because they know now their defense can keep them in pretty much most games. I think that's been the biggest revelation for this team more so than anything.
Yeah. Dude, Dallas Cowboys defense, incredible. I never seen like in the past, like the last time like the Dallas Cowboys made a run in the playoffs, they played against the Green Bay Packers, and that team's defense is nowhere close as good as this team's defense.
No.
And offensively, it's pretty similar to the same. It's pretty similar to the same team. Like offensively, it's like Zeke, Dak Prescott, some nice receivers. Like it's pretty much the same team offensively, but defensively, my Lord, they are good. Like Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
My God, they got
he's
some
super
dudes.
versatile.
Mike is
super versatile.
And the crazy part is they got a bunch of dudes like injured right now. Their whole defensive squad isn't even playing.
Yep.
So like they're not even fully loaded right now. And defensively right now, they are getting it done. It's like it's actually pretty impressive what they're doing. It's like it was a butt whooping against the Panthers, man. Butt whooping.
And they get 6 games against their opponents in their own division. So I mean that alone right there. You're talking about them probably popping off against Washington. I think the Eagles will kind of I know that the first game didn't go that way, but in their second matchup, I think they'll adjust a bit more and it'll be a better game. I'm actually interested to see the Giants play them because the Giants have a pretty good defense. Not great. It's not to the level that the Cowboys are playing this year. But they also have Saquon. Kenny Golladay had a really nice game now that Daniel Jones is actually able to throw the ball. I mean, out of nowhere.
I remember Kenny Galladay yelling at Daniel Jones the previous game.
Hey, and it worked.
It worked.
It worked.
Yards.
So, hey, look, communication, maybe he just needed a fire lit under him, speaking on Daniel Jones there. But I can't take – he threw for 400 yards. I mean, you don't see many quarterbacks hitting that 400-yard mark if they can't throw an accurate ball. So, and that was against the Saints, who aren't a sorry team. They're a very weird team to watch.
Jameis is pretty sorry, man.
They're a very weird team to watch. I just don't know what they're doing offensively. They don't use Kamara enough, and they just
that's the thing. They're not using Kamara
in the passing game anymore.
No, because they're just either throwing it downfield with Jameis or they're giving Taysom the ball, who had probably one of the best runs this past week.
Yeah, Taysom's
looking like Marshawn Lynch. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, that NFC East division will always be interesting to watch. But I do think obviously the favorites right now are the Cowboys. So
yeah, I kind of want to see where the Eagles, because they've been another team too that I feel like their offense, they're always injured on like the offensive line, but the offensive line didn't play terribly this past game. So it's all going to be about Jalen Hurts' maturation in terms of how he just continues to distribute the ball. I'm confused in their backfield with Miles Sanders and the Gainwell kid. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know what's going on with that.
What is going on, man?
He only had like a couple of carries.
Yeah, he's an average running back, right? Yeah. The way they use him, they feel like he's trash or something. Like Kenneth Gainwell is getting more receiving opportunities than Miles Sanders. So I'm just like, I can't really figure out this.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like this happens, and this may happen in every type of, I guess, part of like level of football, but it happens in like college where it's like, say for instance, the quarterback's a freshman and he played okay, but then that coach gets fired. Then a new staff comes in and they run an entirely different system, and they're like, okay, you're talented, but for our system, you don't really fit. And I feel like with Gainwell, they're looking at him as he fits more of what they do. But to me, Miles Sanders can catch the ball out the backfield. He does everything that Gainwell does. He's just older. And I don't understand why they are doing like, it's not even really committee, because Gainwell had, I feel like because I watched that game. Gainwell comes in on third down a lot. He was in there on goal line, which I don't think he's bigger. He's not bigger than Miles Sanders, I don't think. Like, I don't think he's big. And then he got the cheap touchdown at the end too, which kind of, I mean, I got him on my bench. So I'm like, I have all the Gainwell stock because he had like 20 points for me on the bench, which it didn't matter because I won because I had Tyreek. But like, I'm getting close to starting him on flex because I just feel like they're not putting Sanders in a position where he can contribute as much. Because it was, and the telling sign of that was, if you saw in week one, like there was a lot of talk of 1-2 punch of Sanders and Boston Scott. Then in that first week, Gainwell was getting the touches. I was like, Boston. And then they said Boston Scott's playing special teams. And I was like, wait, what? I said, they must really like this Gainwell kid now. So that's going to be
demoted real quick.
Yeah, real quick. And Boston Scott was good last year. Like, he wasn't trash. I don't know. I think it's just, I don't know what round he got drafted in, but I think that's just his guy. So it wouldn't even shock me if they probably tried to see, because Miles Sanders probably would, if it keeps happening, he might get fed up and ask for a trade. I don't know when the deadline is, but he might get traded somewhere because Gainwell's looking like the guy that they want to become their bell cow for, I guess, throwing out the backfield and doing all that stuff. So I know it's going to be interesting to see.
He's got a good rep with Hurts so far.
And he's another Memphis running back that's like got that whole, he was a receiver in college and he's like transitioning to running back, and that skill set is being valued, because that's the same thing that happened to Antonio Gibson. He was a receiver in college. He's still raw as a running back. Now Gibson hasn't done much this year, but see, the thing is, Gibson's split guy, McKissick, has actually produced though. Like,
he's a beast.
I can kind of see why they are splitting with him, but yeah. Sanders and Gainwell, that's going to be interesting to see, because if Gainwell becomes this, I guess, the lead back, that might open their offense up even more. But the Eagles' problems on defense, I mean, I don't know.
As a Miles Sanders shareholder, I'm very, very sad. 6 fantasy points, man. Losing the goal line carries to Kenneth Gainwell. Thought I got this guy's a 4th-round steal. Looking like a scrubby dubby, man. The Eagles are not utilizing him. They're utilizing some 5th-rounder that I don't have on my fantasy team. Embarrassing.
Should have handcuffed Andy. Come on,
Miles Sanders, you're demoted to the bench. You were my flex. I was happy with him as my flex, but now he's to the bench now. Cordero Patterson, welcome to the starting lineup.
Hey, you want to talk about a guy who's carrying his team? My God, every time I was waiting for a Pitts touchdown, Calvin Ridley touchdown. And he's throwing it to Cordero Patterson, handing it off to him the entire game.
Catch, man. You looking like Devontae Adams, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, he was on the Bears, and he's the definition. He's probably the NFL definition of a utility guy. He could literally do anything on your team. He could punt return, kick return, receive, and run the ball out of the backfield. It's ridiculous. He's the ultimate flex player that in a good matchup, like playing Washington, where it's going to be a shootout from now on. He's the guy you definitely want to consider throwing in there in the flex. It could be very, very streaky though. I don't know about Yuzu, but I think
I see the Jets
because
in London. I'm putting him in, baby. The Jets, baby.
Hey, the Jets defense is damn good, man. They sacked Tannehill 8 times this past week, and they got the win. You can't even shit on. You can't even give Sean crap this week because they actually beat the team. So
Wilson was diming. He was
throwing dimes to Corey Davis on 60-yarders, man. I was like, who the hell is this team? Michael Carter got a touchdown. I mean, that was a quick transition over to the Jets, but I did have to give them a quick shout out because their defense was very impressive. Obviously, the Titans were without their 2 wide receivers. Chester Rogers was, I think, their highest receiver in the game. Very rough. Derrick Henry's obviously going to eat his no matter what, but I do have to give some props to the Jets.
You got to keep in mind, no Julio, no
That's
AJ
what I'm saying.
Brown.
None of their top 2.
So legit, I don't even know who Ryan Tannehill was passing it to.
Chester Rogers.
I don't know who that is.
Chester. He was a Colts guy.
I thought that dude was a singer on Linkin Park, man. Chester.
Wait, what?
What?
I gotta do some background check. Research on that. I have no idea.
That's fake news right there.
I do think with the Jets, I wouldn't say going forward I would rely on a rookie running back and a rookie quarterback to be giving them, I guess, clutch wins and clutch plays down the stretch. Elijah Moore's hurt. They've been, I guess, if you got Jameson, I'm about to say if you got Crowder stock, it's going to be a good Corey fantasy Davis. Play. Yeah, because they're definitely going to be, I think, maybe opening up the playbook a little bit more.
It's just the confidence too that you just gave the team. They just beat a prior year playoff team. Obviously, they're missing their top 2 wide receivers, and that's fine. But you still had to, stop Derrick Henry. I mean, he had 157 rushing yards, but that's really all they had. All they had to do was not give Tannehill time to throw it to the no names that he had on the outside, right? Yeah. And that's all they had to do to stay in the game, and they did that. They sacked him 8 times. I was watching that game. I feel like every time it went over on red zone, the Jets were getting a sack. So, they gave Zach Wilson a chance. He did throw a pick, but he had 2 touchdown passes, one of them being an absolute dime down the field to Corey Davis. That was an impressive throw. And he knew it right when he threw that ball. He looked over to the sideline and was like, this is why you guys drafted me. Not saying the Jets are going anywhere. They're not, doing too much. But it was a confidence-boosting win for not only Zach, but the entire team. I think they needed that. So they're no longer in the 0-4 category with Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars. So rip Urban Meyer.
There's a lot going on in Jacksonville.
There's a lot going on in Jacksonville.
Oh my Lord.
There's a lot going on in Jacksonville.
This man is sabotaging his own career right now. Let's just
definitely.
He wants that USC job.
My Lord, man. This dude. I'm surprised he won't be fired by next week, man.
Yeah, I mean he's asking for the USC job right now. I feel like that's where he's really.
That's what I think he's doing.
If I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm going to find some clause about being stupid in the contract and not paying him. Because I ain't paying him to leave. Because if I'm firing his ass, he's getting nothing from me, man. He's getting no more money from me if I'm an owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Because he's been atrocious.
Yeah, well, you see what he said to, I don't know I think it would have been Vic Fangio when they played, or when he was out in Denver. He said that it's like playing against Alabama every week in the NFL. And right when you say something like that, man, you don't belong here. Go, I think multiple people have said
overwhelmed.
He is a king in college football. Everybody wants him in their program, aka why he's getting grinded on at bars at OSU's campus.
That is just it's you gotta you know what that is too. That speaks a lot of to his character. And Urban Meyer, if you follow the college game,
I don't think he's a good dude, man.
Yeah, he's gotten away with a lot of his stuff because he's won everywhere. But that speaks more to where are his friends at to get to that point where you're that wasted, and you got to understand any place you walk into, you're gonna be the subject of everybody, what they're talking about, who they're looking at, who they're trying to film. if you know you're in that space, and I know it's hard to, you're drunk or whatever, you may be inebriated, so it's different. But it's like, where are your friends at? Like, yo, I don't trust what you're doing right now. And hey, let's get out of here. If she wants to come on, she can come too. But we can't stay here. We can't be filmed. And like you say, as the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach, thinking, like I said, there's 32 jobs. Like there's only 31, 32 jobs. Like you can't just be out doing stuff like that. Like I
think he wanted to. I don't think he wants to be there.
Probably
he's never lost this much in his career.
And you know what? He probably thought too. He probably thought like, okay, I'm getting Trevor, and Trevor's like one of these can't miss prospects, and it's a lesson for everyone. Like it don't matter how great you are in college, the NFL is going to humble everybody. So I think he thought with the division, he knew Deshaun's situation was kind of iffy, so Texans were going to be out. And then you look at Tennessee, like Tannehill, they're really going to keep doing that? And then you just keep going down the list of teams, and you look at the AFC, like you're thinking, okay, I got this blue chip guy. We're going to be able to run stuff. And I think he's probably thinking like, in this year we can go 8-8. And then he probably was planning that all out in his head.
100%.
And then now that's like you said, I guess you can be arrogant like that because you've been so successful in college. But yeah, it's starting to feel like he's a college guy.
And his arrogance kind of stepped out that he was doing that at the bar that was named after him in Columbus. That was the funniest part, too.
He skipped his flight home with his team, man. Like the flight
back.
They
did say that.
As a coach, not to be with his guys after a loss, it just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen at all, man. So bad, man. This guy's track record, man. That Florida history, my lord. Was he the guy that coached Hernandez?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he was.
Yeah, man. And then Ohio State, he had some assistant coach guy that like domestic violence. Is that the same dude that killed?
Actually, that might have been Ezekiel Elliott, actually. But yes, there was some stuff that was going on.
There was an assistant coach.
Yeah, his name was like Zach something. Zach
probably.
Yeah.
Zach Taylor or something. I think his name is Zach
something
Taylor.
Like that. Yeah.
And
he was
it follows. It follows.
Legit. All this man. When there's smoke, this fire, man. Like all these like weird things happen around him, man. Like I don't know, man. Don't like the dude. Hope he gets fired, man.
Yeah,
I think in college he just gets it. Yeah. That's another thing because it's kind of like your head coach is a college guy, and it feels like he's gonna probably, I don't know, he may get fired, whatever. But then it's like it's gonna stunt his development because it's probably gonna be a new offensive coordinator. And I don't care who you are and how talented like you can be or become. You got to have continuity, especially in the NFL with OCs and head coaches, because that's the only way you're gonna have a chance to be able to fight, regardless of how weak your division is. Like you said, because in the NFL, everybody's set up to be 8-8. So unless you're the Texans and the Bills and you get blown out 40-0, most teams are going to be within 2 scores. So, and the Texans don't have their best players, so it's kind of like you just know that's going to happen. And they don't have
their second quarter, but they lost both quarterbacks. And Deshaun Watson and this Mills dude, like nah, he ain't ready. Mills dude, he ain't ready, man. He ain't ready. Even your boy Mitchell Trubisky got a tutty, man.
He did on a nice little rollout. It was beautiful to see. I was happy for him. I hope other Bears fans were as well. But yeah, that was an ugly game. My God, that was just horrible to watch. But yeah, man, there were some exciting games this week. I thought Herbert's performance last night.
Again,
the guy just wins, man. Eckler's just a monster. Zoo, you were talking about how the good teams, they have 1, 2, 3 weapons, and they can pick and choose who wants to have the big game, right, based on coverage. Mm-hmm. Well, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen were kind of shut down. I know Herbert missed that wide open Mike Williams, so they probably would have set up a touchdown. But he was pressure in the face there. Tough throw to make, standing in there. But Eckler was the one that stepped up this week. Mm-hmm. And, he just...
And Jared Cook.
Yeah, and Jared Cook, monster catch on the pivotal play. I know that they were talking about this last night, but that 4th and 2 when they went for it, I think it was on their own half. And Jared Cook just went up and over Perriman, the linebacker on the Raiders. Made a beautiful catch, kept the drive going, and that put him up 28-14 at that point. So, the Raiders were playing really well. I don't think you can put a mark on them for losing to this Chargers team because the Chargers are legit and the Raiders are still 3-1 with some solid signature wins. They just love to come back. I mean, they were clearly surging back against this Chargers team.
They were. And
then when the Chargers just decided to, go all in and put their cards on the table going for it on that 4th down, and they lost that, I think the defense just didn't recover, physically and maybe even mentally there. So, that was another signature win for Herbert, man. And he's all about the team in his post-game interview. Everybody loves playing with them. So, they're a fun team to watch, man, LA Chargers.
Man.
It'll be interesting in that
Might
division.
go to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, it's looking interesting in that division.
Okay.
Yeah, man. I'm just like, man, you're on that rookie contract. So
Mhm.
legit, the talent around having this rookie on such a cheap contract. You guys playing like a MVP candidate and you have all this talent around him. This is a time for the Chargers to go all in. Because it's probably our best opportunity like this year and next year until he has to sign that big deal. That potential.
I don't think they have a weakness. I don't think they really have a weakness.
Yeah,
I mean, they got a great running.
defense,
they have a great running back who can catch the ball. They got a great young quarterback on a cheap contract. 2 stud wide receivers, a veteran good tight end in Jared Cook, who was a very quietly awesome acquisition. I think. I know Hunter Henry was there for years, but Jared Cook's a baller, man. Huge in the red zone, and their defense was just making every single play. At least in that first half, I know they had some opportunities, the Raiders, to get the ball down the field. Ruggs had a couple big catches. But this Chargers defense, once again, I think them and the Cowboys are the 2 biggest revelations when it comes to defensive play this year. And that starts with Brandon Staley, their head coach, who just looks like he's having a blast out there throwing all these fake plays and stuff.
Yeah. Well, Hunter Renfrow had to play it.
Oh, that was nice, though. Dude, you could hear that hit, too. And everybody was like, he ain't a DB. He's a wide receiver, man.
Yeah.
But he read
great anticipation by Hunter Renfrow. But I will say one last topic before we get out of here, or one last thought with the, I guess you could say the Cleveland Browns, that whole division.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be interested to see how Baker plays when he gets into like the nitty gritty of this season, because I don't think, and I have this argument a lot with my friend because he's a Browns fan. Like Baker, I feel like Baker's at a point, and watch, he'll probably throw 4 touchdowns next week. But like Baker's at a point where he feels like a quarterback that can get you to the playoffs, and he can like have that one wow game and be like, oh, you see why he's the number 1 pick. But then it's like he has these games where, and I don't know if it's an Odell. I just don't want to believe it's Odell, but it's weird. He can't get on page with Odell. He can't get on page with him. It's weird, and he don't have Jarvis there.
Yeah, that's huge.
So I don't understand why like he's not getting in sync with Odell. It's a weird dynamic with them too.
Well, this is his 2nd year with them, right? I think, last year he was out pretty much the entire year. And that's when he built that rep with Jarvis, for sure. I mean, Jarvis popped off last year. And then, Odell comes back and he loses his guy that he can 100% know he can count on. Mm-hmm. Whereas if I think Jarvis was on the field, Odell would be he wouldn't get as much attention, obviously. And not saying that the Vikings are, an unbelievable defensive team. They held them to 14 points there. I thought it was going to be way more high scoring after that first Vikings drive. I mean, I was like, Kirk is cooking per usual this year. They just couldn't rely on Dalvin Cook too much coming off that injury. But yeah, Sean, I agree. I mean, Baker, he's probably one of the most inconsistent number 1 overall picks that still is taking his team to the playoffs and is on a winning team. I mean, you would assume that as a number, if you're on that good of a team, I mean, that's another team that doesn't have that many weaknesses outside of injuries, right? Unless injuries occur, which obviously Jarvis, that's a big loss for them. But Baker it's all on him. I mean, if he does not play above his expected level in that division, man, that's going to be tough, let alone being in the AFC. So, I mean, we got 3-1 teams over on that division. It's going to be interesting to watch. I know the Steelers are.
might be time to put a death nail in those. Listen, we might not put the nail in there, but we'll put them in the casket.
I'm making my nail mark before I hammer it in. I'm putting the X right where I want it nailed in. That's where I'm at with the Steelers.
He's got to go. And you know what sucks too? Like, I don't know if you guys watch college football, but I don't even know who's a quarter. Like the quarterbacks this year are not great, so I don't even know whether. Yeah, it's a lot of Spencer Rattler, Sam Howell. Now, I will say an intriguing guys. If you guys ever have time, this guy Malik Willis, I think he's from Liberty. He's like 6'3", 225. He's pretty athletic and throw the football. Like he's kind of a first round guy, and he's kind of played. The only reason why he's getting, I guess, headway because he's played good against like the higher competition. But like it's not the market like how it was last year.
Bryce
I don't
Young,
know what they're gonna do.
Bryce Young, maybe.
Yeah, but he's not eligible because he's
right.
He's second. He's a second.
You're right.
Guy.
That's right. I always forget.
Yeah,
they have different. They're no one and dones over there like the NBA.
Nah, that would be a whole new can of worms if you could get one and done in football, NFL football, or college football. That would be That'd be I guess it'd be cool for like certain positions because they don't really hit the quarterback now. So I wouldn't if the quarterbacks could come out a year. I mean, they can't hit the quarterbacks now.
You can't play only 1 year of college I think at the quarterback position.
Yeah,
and really get enough to prepare you for
enough to play. Yeah,
I mean, it's just
what position could. What do you think?
Just hearing like Tom Brady or not Tom Brady, Peyton and Eli talk over Monday Night Football games and all the stuff that they know about what they're looking at. I'm sitting there like this never crossed my mind as a fan, which I think is why ESPN is loving that. Right, as one of its broadcasts, massive hit. They need to have all 17 games. Give them 17 next year. ESPN.
I wonder how many people actually watch the regular broadcast because
I had to last night because Peyton and Eli are on until week 7.
Oh damn! I didn't know that.
Yeah, they only gave him 10-game contract this year, so
really?
Mark it on your calendars, boys. Yep, you got to just mark when Peyton and Eli are shown. That's when you should watch the Monday night games because otherwise it's boring.
I think for me personally, I don't know why, but I always trend more towards the Sunday night game. I'm not a huge Monday night guy. Like unless it's a game that I really want to watch. Like I watched last night because of Herbert and all that. But if the Monday night game is not the greatest, I usually just like Sunday night because I like winding down watching the NFL going into starting the week. But like I said, the Steelers, I kind of want to always give them credit because they're the team that's like, hey, we're the golden franchise, we're the standard. We have the few head coaches, but I don't think Ben's going to be able to, and it doesn't help that he's also hurt slightly. So I don't know. That's going to be another interesting division, like we all just talked about last couple 30 minutes. Week 4 was another interesting week in the NFL. I don't think the NFL is ever going to have a dull week. Looking at some of the matchups next week, going to be real interested in Rams and Seahawks just because I think that's coming a Thursday night game. That's going to kind of put the, I guess, levels of what the division is going to be.
Absolutely.
I think the Seahawks kind of found something in getting their rhythm back with DK and Russell, so that's going to be interesting because Tyler Lockett, I don't think, had a big game.
Well, what was with the running game? Like, why
he was splitting time.
Why is the timeshare with Chris Carson that kind
I don't know.
That's pretty
He's been getting
right?
high. Like before that, he was getting all kind of like crazy, like high number in carries, and then I don't know. I don't know, man. Running back is all over the league. You can say the same thing about Detroit, Swift, and I think
Jamal Williams.
He had more carries than Swift. Now I don't know if Swift's hurt or what's going on with that, but
it's because they were losing.
It's weird. Swift is
Swift
whenever they go down, they put Jamal in for pass catching. That's kind of there.
But D Swift could pass catch too. He's a really good pass catch. He gets like 6 receptions a game, right?
Yeah, they're kind of like the same type of player. Swift's just a better running back, I think, but not to say Jamal Williams is a bad running back. He's still really good
too.
I just think that Swift's he's better at running and Jamal is slightly better at the receiving game. So they just kind of use both, right? Probably in different packages. So, it might be based on the personnel. Like if they have TJ Hawkinson in, they might not, they might have Swift in instead. Right. I'm not exactly sure. I can't analyze it when I'm too happy about the Bears actually winning a game. So, that's pretty much it. And, Sean, couple of the games big this week. We got Browns Chargers. So you're going to see Baker go up against pretty legit defense and have to shoot out. And then you got Bills and Chiefs, man, Sunday Night Football this week. So you want to talk about somebody who's going to eat this week. Stephon Diggs is going to have a day on the Chiefs. I think if Devontae Smith can put up 122 yards in his rookie year, I think Stephon Diggs will have a nice game. So those are a couple that I'm looking at.
Chiefs defense, man. It is god-awful. It is so bad. Like, oh my God, man. It is so atrocious. Like,
they don't even know how to I think with the Eagles, the only reason why they kept that game is because Jalen Hurts is still a brand new starter. If he was more of a seasoned starter, I think they could have won that game.
And they messed up a couple times in the red zone, man. I remember, man. They had some penalty calls. Like in the
pick
red zone
plays and stuff like that.
Took Goddard's TD away. I'm like, oh my Lord.
I needed that too.
Oh, I needed that shit, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to trade for one of those.
Double puntos, man. Jalen Hurts, the Dallas Goddard got taken back because they didn't line up correctly. Bunch of morons. God damn.
We'll go back to the running backs
for more than 2 years. So you can know that
Hurts bounced around too. Like he was at Alabama and then went to Oklahoma. So I mean, but he like I said, I just think he's just still young, getting his feet wet. He's got weapons.
Absolutely.
I think he's a
fantasy superstar.
Yeah, he's getting it done because he's my starter and he's still.
He doesn't have bad games, man. He has a bad game, gets 20 points because he gets like 60 rushing yards, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. Good. So. With all those matchups coming up in week 5, the NFL is just going to continue to give us storylines and a bunch of stuff we can talk about. I also think that the NBA is coming right around the corner. As of now, we're still going to be 95% NFL talk because it's still early in the NFL season. Nothing's really been decided. There's no playoff bursts or anything. But a couple preseason games happened the other night, and it's going to be interesting to see once we get probably to more in November. We'll start talking more when they're kind of, I guess, 5 to 10 games to the season with the NBA. Quick shout out. I know Zoo doesn't like baseball, but the Red Sox and Yankees, I think, are playing right now.
That's the White Sox play Thursday.
Yeah, that's a huge deal. Huge deal. Like you say, if you're not even a baseball fan, that's one thing about the MLB. I'll give them credit. They do have a really cool setup with the wild card game scenarios. I think that's really cool. So we're going to be keeping an eye on it. I'll probably have something for tomorrow to see whoever comes out on top because I know a lot. I got a lot of. I mean, I guess it's the Yankees. Everybody around the world are Yankees fans, so I got a lot of Yankee fans. So I'm going to see how they end up looking and things like that. So not saying we're going to talk about it on the podcast because we will not because it's not anything of that interest. But I just want to give a shout out to the baseball fans. And like I said, week 5 in the NFL is going to be a lot of things going on. So make sure you guys, as always, tune in to bullheaded_pod. I know Instagram was down yesterday. Had everybody in a frenzy. Facebook was down. A lot of stuff affecting my job as well because I couldn't get anything done with the Facebook clients. But it should be up and running again. So make sure you guys follow us on bullheaded_pod. We are getting the Facebook page up. I've been posting a little bit, trying to link the accounts where a lot of stuff I post on Instagram goes to Facebook. So I will put that in the description to make sure you guys follow that. Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor. Make sure you guys follow all of those. And as usual, for me, Zoo and Peebush,